A warm welcome to a short SharePoint mini consulting on a short requirement that helps you to update a list item on update action. This is for those who are new to SharePoint and who want SharePoint advice. Please make sure you can hear me and see the screen and have some water by your side before you proceed. So what is the agenda? I'm going to guide you with some tips to find SharePoint solution to common problems in SharePoint, and I will discuss one requirement that I have received in email. I receive various requirements, I observe various SharePoint requirements, and I've just chosen one requirement to discuss in this particular session. This is me, Thangu or Thangeshwari. I've been in SharePoint and .NET technology since 2006. I've been playing with Windows as a kid since 1995. I'm a Microsoft girl. I love to consult. I'm focusing on consulting now, and sometimes I do training, prepare videos, write books, and do blogging. You can reach out to me or any SharePoint requirement on thangutinyusefultools@gmail.com. So what is the benefit you will get at the end of this session? You will get possible solution or guidance to a SharePoint problem. Of course, you get various complex problems. I will be sharing some of the common requirements I come across and which I received recently and suggest the best solution. So let's get started. And why this? Because you need to understand a proper approach to a SharePoint problem. SharePoint is very complex, and and finding a solution is pretty difficult sometimes, and you need the expertise of someone who has experience in SharePoint for over 10 years. And I've made a video so that if you see the requirement live, you can get a better solution. And you can send the requirement in email and watch the video anytime. I tried live, but people around the world, it's difficult to come together at a particular time in the global village right now. So I felt that when you send the requirement in email, and I can make the video anytime and you can get the videos, that is the best. So what are the prerequisites? You need an internet connection and laptop with Windows preferably and undisturbed space. So let me start off with the overview of the SharePoint types of solutions. And today I'll just discuss a little on the out-of-box itself. Because today I got a call from a girl and I got a requirement on SharePoint for a government organization, and I highly recommend out-of-box itself and not any info file. So for any SharePoint problem, you need to start off with out-of-box only where no development is needed. SharePoint is a complex product, so you have to think of codeless solutions or use SharePoint out-of-box itself. This is, if you take a real-world example, it is like having an egg without cooking, and it's pretty simple. You don't have to worry about anything. And next is the SharePoint classic page where you have a requirement for only one page and you don't need to do for all the pages in SharePoint. So for you can use put a content editor or content search web part or simple HTML CSS or put the script using PowerShell PNP. So just one page requirement. It is like having an omelette for one person. You just use the SharePoint classic page. Next is the SharePoint framework where you can do apps. It can be SharePoint hosted app or SharePoint framework app or provider hosted app, and reuse for many organizations. Suppose you're working for multiple clients, you can just do the app once and many clients can use it. It's like having a boiled eggs, and the advantages, you can like serve 100 clients at the same time, and also it is reusable, it is very fast and efficient also. Now today I'm going to discuss about a Power Apps flow requirement where you don't really need a complex coding knowledge. If you have Excel knowledge, that is more than enough. So let me start off with the requirement that I received recently, that is to update a list item in flow triggers an infinite loop. So there is no right or wrong answer. So today I'll be walking you through this issue and I'm going to try the SharePoint Designer workflow itself. So we have a list. Let's say we have a flow update field test list. And what I'm going to do is I've created a list. And when I have a flow that triggers when a new item is created, and I've created a flow that will update the field item to green, it works without any issue. So let me just imagine I'm adding an item demo 3 and I just save it. So it does take a lot of time. Flow, there is some delay, and after some delay, the flow runs and the field to update will be modified. So I've created a flow to do that. So when a new item is created, I'm just calling the update item, and this update item is just updating the field update to green. So this works without any issues. Now, in case we are calling the flow when an existing item is modified, and I'm just updating the field to update with modified value, just can you guess what is going to happen? In right now in flow, there is a problem where it goes to an infinite loop. So what happens is when an existing item is modified, it modifies the field to update and the field value changes. Now what happens because of the field to update? So if I'm modifying a field, so field item, and it calls the flow again when an existing item is modified. So if I go to my flow, so you can see that it is calling itself again and again. So it's April 1st, it's like fooling us, and it's not doing what we want. I want the flow update item and it should not be triggered again and again. So it triggers again and again, and if you observe, so the field to update value will be called again and again, and it goes indefinitely. So first I need, if you, in case you have such a flow, first let me just turn off this flow. The first step is to turn off this flow so that it doesn't call itself indefinitely, and I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to show a simple workflow with the SharePoint Designer itself. Make sure that you have the SharePoint 2013 workflow engine installed, and we can just do this simple workflow. I'm just connecting to a SharePoint online site called which is for the demo purpose, and we are just going to see how we can call a workflow that updates an item on the item change. So I will I will explain to you why this is one of the most efficient and one of the best. So let's just look at the SharePoint Designer. So SharePoint Designer workflow has various advantages. I'll be sharing them soon. So what has happened? I've just opened up the list. Let me just open up the update list item SPD. I've created a list and it has a color column, and I created an update item workflow where when you actually update the workflow, when the item is changed, it actually updates the color with the value called green. And the advantage of this is it doesn't so tools like SharePoint Designer and some of the tools don't have this issue, and hence I really recommend this itself, because in Flow there are workarounds where you have to put a lot of if loop and many other, you have to think out of the box and try to solve the problem, but you have to end up doing a lot of flows and deploying between different UAT and the box. It's going to be a nightmare, and hence I recommend for this particular requirement just use the SharePoint Designer itself. SharePoint Designer is wonderful and fantastic, where it's pretty robust also, it's very nice, and you just have to use the action and call the update list item, and I'm just updating the current item and the color to, I'm just updating the value to modify. So let me go to this particular list. So I'm going to add a new item. So when I add, nothing is going to happen, and just going to save it. Now I'm going to modify this. So let me say I'm going to modify this to demo to updated, and I save it. So when I save it, it actually triggers, and look at this, it's way faster. In Flow, it took a long time for me for the update to happen, and SharePoint Designer, the update happened very fast, and the modified value is 84847 at this time. It has been modified, and it actually doesn't go indefinitely. So if I go to the update item workflow, look at the history, it really stays calm, and I can see the workflow history, and I can see that there are no issues and the workflow has been completed. If you want to log the events in the history, you can just add a workflow history event and you can see the events here, and the stage is completed. It is not going in an infinite loop. So let me come back and check why SharePoint Designer is best for this requirement. First thing, it's free. Now what happens with Flow, I receive many requirements where they specifically tell me to do SharePoint Designer, because with Flow, it becomes paid, or it might be paid like based on the number of events or number of triggers. Microsoft may plan to make it paid, and it is not as free as SharePoint Designer is completely free, and you don't have to worry about the number of triggers that is going on. And next thing, it's faster. I saw that you just saw that at least for my tenant, the item was updated instantly. And next, flow, and you have the option, like SharePoint Designer, you have the option to save the workflow as template and move it from dev to production easily. And if you're doing with flow and you have to just redo it again and again, it may not be easy sometimes. And it is and of course, for this particular indefinite loop, it is straightforward, and there are no workarounds needed, and in SharePoint Designer such issue doesn't even exist. And SharePoint Designer is there in Microsoft SharePoint since 2007, and it's pretty good. It's going to be free. And of course, Flow is also good, I don't deny it, but many times what happens is Microsoft released Napa, which was a wonderful tool for development, and it was gone just in 1 year. And so many times Microsoft suddenly just stops a wonderful product also. So, and Infopath also, they are saying they might stop it. So these tools like which come and go, Power Apps, Flow, I don't, they changed the name to Power Automate. So I suggest you stick to something which which is not going to be stopped by Microsoft. And my personal recommendation is always, I'm a coder, so I just go for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or PowerShell itself. It's up to you. The way you do is completely your choice. If you really want flow itself, there are a lot of workarounds, and you have a if loop and check if create a new column, and if the modified value is greater than modified, then only you do the update item. There are a lot of workarounds, or you can think of your own logic and try to do something. But it has been I read various people discussions where they said that it was a real pain, and some of them ended up doing 7 flows to just get this requirement done, and some ended up using SharePoint Designer itself. My personal choice is obviously SharePoint Designer, and the choice is up to you. So if you have a similar requirement, just send an email to thangutinyusefultools@gmail.com, or if you want a live discussion for a small SharePoint consulting for free, you can just schedule 2 weeks in advance in calendly.com/spthangu at a time when both are available, and we can try to meet on Teams for 15 minutes or so to discuss the requirement. So I have like various blogs, and this is one of the link where it shares how to solve SharePoint problems through real world experiences. And if you can follow me on Twitter at all alone is fine, or reach out to me there. And hope this helps, and thank you so much.